Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is Meditation and Mindfulness with Rabbi Adam Kligfeld.
Morning, everyone. Morning to those who are here in my office in Temple Beth Am. Good morning to those who are watching on Facebook Live on my profile of the Temple Beth Am page. And hello to anyone who is on Zoom and anyone who might be listening to this later on the Temple Beth Am podcast series. We didn't have this chance last week because it was Purim, and services ran very late in Purim morning. So apologies to those who look forward to this every week as I do. We're in Parshat Vayakhel, most of which is material that's hard to find the juice in, because it's really just a repeat of Parshat Truma, except instead of the language being "you shall build this," it's "they built it." You can map almost every verse from Parshat Truma onto Vayakhel. There's some interesting ways you can see how there were slight deviations from what the instructions were and what was actually done. And Jews are trained to find meaning in every verse, but there's a lot of dry architectural stuff in Vayakhel. But interestingly, Vayakhel begins with the most non-dry Jewish concept there is, which is Shabbat. Right? It begins with a couple of verses about Shabbat, one of the many places in the Torah that Shabbat is discussed. Sheshit Yamim Te'aseh Melacha. For 6 days you should do work, and the seventh day you have this concept of Shabbat. It's helpful to remind ourselves occasionally how radical an idea that was. Radical. Right? We just take for granted as a modern person, whatever our religious identity is or isn't, that there is something called a week. Nothing in the universe would support the notion of a week. Right? If you had enough brain cells and were stranded on a desert island and knew nothing about the concept of time, at some point you'd come up with a day, at some point you'd come up with a month, moon, and at some point you'd come up with a year. You would never come up with a week. There's nothing to track. It's arbitrary and counterintuitive, particularly in a society that, in an ancient society where extracting everything you possibly could from your resources was what you wanted to do. You would never tell the people that you were in control of to stop working. So whether people observe it according to the laws of Shabbat or not, the concept of Shabbat is one of our tradition's greatest contributions to modern society. And nearly every human being alive, except for, the indigenous people on that island, Papua New Guinea, who are still living in, Paleolithic times or something, lives by it on some level. And I thought it'd be interesting just to pull back from Shabbat, the Jewish holiday, to Shabbat, the meta-Jewish concept of once you've done 6 of just about anything, it's time to take a break. So 6 days, it's enough toil of the world, it's a break. Could be that 6 months is an opportunity to pull back and assess how that half a year has gone. And in our mode, what would it mean for us to have a certain kind of attention and intention for 6 breaths, and have the 7th breath be a Shabbat, whatever that means. It's going to mean different things to each of you, and it's going to mean different things even internal to the meditation. The less I describe as to what it could mean, the more you might experience in it. So this is going to be a meditation about Shabbat. Shabbat, not the holiday, but Shabbat, just the rhythm. So I invite you to close your eyes. Allow yourself a luxurious descent into your body. Re-inhabit your body. With admiration for it and gratitude that it's the encasement of your soul. Try to keep your spine straight and dignified, and allow everything else to sag and to yield to gravity. Pay attention to any part of your body or any contour of your mind that needs some attention. And just see what happens if you pay some attention to a body part that's hurting or itching or throbbing, or an idea that is pecking at you. And then just release it. Package that irritation as if in a helium balloon. Just release it. See if you can get into a deep rhythm of 6 breaths. Counting 1 on the in, 2 on the out, 3 on the in, 4 on the out, etc. And when you get to 7, just tell yourself, this is Shabbat. And see what's there. See how your 7th breath may be different than the previous 6. And just keep that going for a while. 6 counted breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then Shabbat. If you prefer this rhythm, each full inhale and exhale can be 1 rather than 2. And then a full inhale and exhale on the Shabbat. should be where your mind goes when you get to your Shabbat breath. Is it somehow more, or somehow less? Is it quickening or slowing? Expanding the experience or narrowing? When you get to 7, you get to Shabbat. How is it different? Either by will or by something more automatic than the previous 6 breaths. And even if you're not, come back up. And we'll say this closing meditation prayer 3 times. May we and all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with a compassion for all. May we and all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. May we and all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May we all be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May we all experience true happiness that has no taint of suffering. May we live in great equanimity, free from burdening attachment to loved ones and contempt for others, but rather with compassion for all. Shalom. Namaste. Shabbat Shalom.
You have been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.